Yo, what's up everybody, it's your boy Elvious Void coming in with a part 2 to what if Deku was Akaza's reincarnation. So I have read a few comments of this video over the past few days that this has been out, and a lot of people are asking why I gave Deku one for all, and I'll really get into that fast forwarding to later parts of the arcs, but it was mainly because Akaza's powers in the My Hero verse, his durability is like probably the best type of durability you can get, but his physical strengths is it's not going to be put up against like other people in My Hero. So if I did basically give one to someone else like Mirio, or if I even gave it to Bakugo, which was very unlikely, then the power gap would have been so large that even if Izuku could continue to regenerate and used his demon blood art, there would be really no chance for someone with one for all to carry on to beat Midoriya over and over again. So it would be quite easy for someone with one for all to do it, in my opinion, through all the other like stages of power scaling and whatnot. So there's also another reason as well, as if you haven't read the manga, you should probably go read that now, because there'll be a few spoilers in this coming up to one for all as a whole thing. That one for all, actually, if you have a quirk, because the quirk genes and the amount of like power that a human body can have, that it will cut down on the lifespan of the user. So because All Might didn't have a quirk and he got one for all, he could continue with his proper lifespan, as well as Izuku's as well. But that wasn't the case for the past users of one for all, where I'm pretty sure the fourth user whatnot actually died in like his 30s when he got the quirk, when he was like 27 or something like that. Don't remember the full story about it, but I remember they'll die really early in their life. So where we last left off, Izuku had just gone and met up with All Might at the Dagobah beach to test out and see how strong and how physically fit Izuku is. With Izuku as well, showing his body off to All Might, and All Might and Izuku going off to UA to go and see the Recovery Girl, a famous pro hero for her recovery abilities, to go and see Izuku's flesh and stuff like that, as his quirk seems to be a massive organization of different skills and abilities, like his demon blood art, as well as his immense strength, durability, and his regeneration, and the fact that he doesn't even need to sleep or eat at all, basically having a fully adaptable body to any scenario. With them going and finding out that Izuku's actual flesh itself, as cells, aren't really human, but in fact something else, something stronger than what a human is, something that can adapt to anything and can continue to grow stronger as time goes on, as well as learning that Izuku's flesh doesn't age and that is stagnant in one time, as he will continue to grow, but after a certain time Izuku will just stop aging completely and will continue to stay at his prime or his peak forever and ever. As that was a really big shock to All Might and Izuku himself, as he didn't know, as he now knows that he will continue to live on and outlive everybody that he knows. With that being said, there will be the same I think it was a 9-month or 10-month time skip, to where we'll actually go off into the actual entrance exam. During this time, Izuku would go with All Might to Dagobah Beach and continue to clean up all the trash that was on the beach, as All Might did still want Izuku to do the service for the community service, as it shows what a real hero should be doing, and it's not all about the flashy business like stopping villains from robbing banks or stopping murders from happening, but instead to help out in the community as a whole. And with All Might having all his connections, he'll get a quirk usage pass, as he is the #1 hero and was training his protege, his protege, I think you say it. Anyway, with the next 10 months happening, Izuku, because of his regeneration skills, his physically fit body, and all his actual attributes that he has before getting one for all, you'll be able to fully master one for all, being able to handle its 100% strength all the time, constantly. And also, if you don't know, the quirks in one for all are very powerful. There are a few quirks that Izuku will get, but because right now he's only recently got it and he hasn't fully kind of mastered all the abilities that one for all actually can offer, he'll just have the original strength type of quirk. He'll not have all the other quirks like Black Whip, Smoke Screen, Float, Danger Sense, or I think it's Farjin. It's the one where you build up and store kinetic energy as the user moves to release it as an explosive burst of speed and power. I reckon that all just sums up into just physical strength and brute strength in itself. As he is Akaza's reincarnation, he wouldn't really need all these other abilities, and instead would just have his 1-4 focus on purely strength, as of what All Might had himself. With Izuku now, after the 10-month time skip, would go off to the UA entrance exam and would see Bakugo there walking past him, but would choose to ignore him as they are still rivals. But Katsuki and his actual attitude is still hateful, and he doesn't really like Izuku, and as he sees Izuku as a threat to his #1 position, and always tries to do everything in his power to become stronger just so he can surpass Izuku. But every single time he tries, he always fails, as Izuku's quirk is just so powerful, and while he doesn't really know right now, but he's in for a massive shock, as Izuku now has one for all, and his power, output, and all his other attributes of his demonology will be absolutely enhanced, and he's going to get into a big shock when he finds out about this. With the UA entrance exam having the same type of situation as the original, Izuku would go inside UA, and Prison Mike would explain how the entrance exam works, which begins with the practical test and afterwards a written test, with President Mike explaining that the goal in the practical test is to dispatch as many villains, which are actually the robots, as they can to earn a high score. With the practical test now beginning, all the participants would get a letter to figure out which zone they'll be going in, with Izuku going in his original zone, I think it was zone D, in which he would be with Ida and also Uraraka. With all of them going into the original testing zone, Izuku would see Uraraka and sense the amount of tenseness and type of fear and the type of nervousness that you would have at a massive turning point in your life, and would start to walk over to her to comfort her and tell her that she'll be alright, as he can see, not really the quirk, but the amount of power output that someone and the potential that they can get as demons, they can use their enhanced eyesight to look at people's flesh and tell if people are related or not, and also can tell people how strong they are in a way, but because everything will be enhanced in the My Hero verse type of situation. So I'm reckon he'll be able to see the type of potential that Uraraka has, as the zero gravity quirk is a massively powerful quirk. With Izuku starting to walk over, he would be stopped by Ida, putting a hand on his shoulder, asking what he's doing and if he's going to go and distract that girl up ahead. With Izuku turning around, showing his face with a scowl presently on his face, telling Ida to piss off as he doesn't want to get involved with him right now. With Ida seeing that he is not wanted here and a little afraid of what's happening, he would back off, and Izuku would continue to walk up to Uraraka and try to comfort her, but before he could reach her, the sound goes off with President Mike telling everyone to go, 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 as the entrance exam, the physical part, has started. With Izuku in a split second would activate one for all, as well as all his actual physical attributes, and immediately blitz out of there, leaving a massive shockwave behind with all the other participants, leaving everyone to bite the dust, being blown away as the shockwave pushed them all backwards, leaving them all on their asses, trying to scrabble up to their feet and to run down to the gates of the entrance. With Izuku already in the entrance of wherever all the robots is, you'll be able to easily dismantle and destroy all the robots around the area, racking up at least 100 points in a second, already having the most villain points of like everyone in the entire, even from start to finish. With Izuku getting 100 hero points, he would continue to run around the entrance, as well as all the other, the city block that he's in, and continue to destroy all the other villains or robots that he sees, and again, completely demolishes them, as they aren't really a challenge to him at all. And he wouldn't even use 100% of one for all, but instead would just be using, like 2%, as these robots are easily breakable, as they're meant to be breakable and, not well built as a sense, as Nezu, who built these things, I'm pretty sure, probably didn't think that everyone had a strength enhancement quirk, and would make them a little flimsy to see how strong and how well the participants or the students use their quirks. With Izuku now getting around 150 points at this point, he will continue to go around the area and help as many people as he can, as mainly helping the girls, as Izuku does feel a strong sense of justice to protect as many females as he can. It would rack up about 50 hero points, having about 200 points in total, that being 150 in villain and 50 in rescue. With Izuku now just walking around the entrance, not really going for robots, as he's got as many points as he needed, and just walking around the entrance, not the entrance but the city itself, seeing if he can help as many people as he can that are in danger of hurting themselves from the robots, and will continue to help out as many people as he can. With Izuku now feeling a massive sense of danger, not being from the quirk of One For All, but instead just his instincts as a demon, he would sense the massive presence of a zero-pointer being released upon the city, and would then hear a shout and a scream from a girl, and would try to look all over her and see that it is the girl that he was going to combat before, but stopped because the entrance exam started, and would see that she's under some rubble and can't get out. With Izuku immediately speed blitzing to where Ochako is at that point, he would immediately just arrive there in a blink of an eye, with nobody actually really able to see Izuku, as it happened in a split second, and immediately lift up the rubble and grab Ochako and lift her up in princess style and run away. With Izuku now getting her out of the area and be outspeeding Ida to get her into a safe position, he would drop her down, not really drop her down, but gently place her down and start to turn around, as he wants to go test his strength on the zero-pointer, as he still does want to fight strong things. With Izuku turning around, he would start to run off, with Ochako as well as Ida asking him what he's about to do, with him turning around saying that he's just going to go destroy that zero-pointer, with them having a shocked expression on their face, as they do know that he's extremely strong, but this robot is massive, it's towering over all the buildings around them, and they don't believe that Izuku has this much strength, as he only showed a small portion of his strength in total. Before he was only using about 2% of One For All, as well as just his physical attributes that he has as a demon. He would immediately rush off, using about 15% of One For All, which still is incredibly fast, and much faster than Ida with his his engine bursts or whatever it is, and would immediately burst over to where the zero-pointer is, launching off the ground, and wouldn't even use One For All at all at this point, as he doesn't really need to. He only needed that 15% just to get over and blitz before the zero-pointer can make some real distance, as he didn't want to blast the zero-pointer all over the battlefield where all the other students and participants were. With Izuku with no One For All, just his physical attributes of a demon, would immediately use his demon blood art. With Izuku summoning his compass needle, he would use a annihilation type of the compass needle, and immediately lunge forward in the air and punch with so much force that it would create so many powerful shockwaves that it blows right through the zero-pointer's head, as well as dismantling and destroying the entire body of the zero-pointer, without even like making physical contact with Izuku and the Zero Pointer. The Zero Pointer would be blasted all over the city, destroying a lot of the buildings, as well as shocking all the other participants, seeing Izuku and his massively powerful and overpowered Quirk in general. With the massive explosion happening, a lot of the participants and all the other who are also participating in different parts of the city would hear the massive explosion and would wonder who did that, and if a pro hero had to come in and stop a robot from hurting someone. With the test now being finished and Izuku now landing down on the ground, he wouldn't be injured at all, and that would freak out a lot of the other participants and ask, and they wouldn't ask, but they would think that this guy is so powerful, he may even be stronger than All Might. With Izuku now walking over to Ochako to see if she's alright, he would ask to see if she's alright, with her saying she's fine, and she thinks she only sprained her ankle. With the recovery girl now coming, saying that the exam is over, she would walk over to Ochako, kissing her on the cheek, healing the wound instantly on her foot, now not having a sprained ankle, With that now being finished, Izuku would go off and do the, not the practical, the what is it? The written test. And Izuku is really smart, and he doesn't really need to sleep, which means that he can study a whole bunch. It just means he's gonna get 100% on the exam. There's not much to it, with 24 hours basically being able to do whatever you want, and not having to sleep or having any type of exhaustion at all. Studying as well as schoolwork in general would be an absolute breeze for Izuku, and he would get 100% on the written exam. With Izuku now finished with the UA, he would start to walk off and would go home with no interactions with anybody else, as there's no reason for any interactions with anybody else to happen. With Izuku now going off back home, he would meet up with his mother, and his mother would make him a delicious noodle dinner, whatever it is, and the day would be over. A week after this, Izuku would constantly try to call or text All Might to get any information from what's happening, and see how well he did in the exam. But again, he would have no help with this, as he doesn't have any contact with All Might during the entire time. With a week later, Izuku would get in the mail the UA acceptance letter and would open it with his mother, and on the screen All Might would appear, telling Izuku that he got first place in the exam, getting 150 villain points, as well as 111 hero rescue points, as he would have gotten 60 from helping Ochako, as well as the other 50 that he got from just helping random participants. With getting a total score of 260 points, he would be first place, breaking All Might's record and destroying anybody else in the entire exam, with second place only getting 77 villain points and 0 rescue points, that being Katsuki Bakugo. And the list would go on, with Tenny Ida getting 52 and 9 hero points, and so on and so forth. You can search it up in Google to find out what placings they get, but you probably won't, because that's kind of boring. With Izuku now finally getting able to reach All Might through text, All Might would tell Izuku to meet up where they cleaned up at Dagobah Beach. With Izuku telling his mom that he needs to go and he's meeting his trainer, she would agree and say goodbye to Izuku. With Izuku now running off, he would meet with All Might at Dagobah Beach, where All Might would personally congratulate Izuku for being accepted into UA. All Might then tells Izuku that he is very proud of Izuku for getting first place in the entrance exam, and there's no real real emphasis, as a lot of the situation changed in the chatting as Izuku had adjusted, and everything and so forth that happened in the original wouldn't really happen. With it being springtime and the first day of UA's academic year, Izuku prepares himself to leave and is wished good luck by his mother. This is the next day, by the way, I forgot to say that. Izuku walking to UA. At UA, Izuku would walk through the hallways of UA and try to find class 1A. With Izuku now finding the class, he would realize that this door was actually really massive and way taller than himself, and would think to himself that this is probably for other students that have a bigger physical attributes than what normal people have, and probably people with gigantic oh, how do you say it? Gigantification quirks. I think that's how you say it. Doesn't really matter, but I thought that was pretty cool. How the doors were bigger for people who have a bigger body from their quirks. I always thought that was a really cool thing that they put into the show. With Izuku kind of hoping that he doesn't meet Katsuki, as well as hoping that he doesn't meet the person wearing the glasses. And he's hoping that they aren't in the class, but his hopes are crashing. His hopes get crashed down and broken into many pieces as it is revealed that they're both in his class. The student wearing the glasses introduces himself to Izuku after reprimanding Bakugo for putting his feet on the desks, and would introduce himself to Izuku, saying that his name is Tenya Ida, and commends Izuku for understanding the true nature of the test, as well as having a very powerful quirk, and he admits that he is a better man than himself. With Izuku patting Ida on the back, saying that there's no problem, and that he's not as good as he thinks Izuku is, and would tell Ida that he hopes that they can be friends, as they didn't get off to a really great start. Then, the girl that Izuku saved enters the class, and would see Izuku, and glad that Izuku made it into UA. She would then introduce herself to Izuku, telling him that her name is Ochako Uraraka, and that, she's very happy that Izuku is in the class, with Izuku, kind of sensing the emotion of, a slight crush or type of feeling that he's getting off her. And, because Izuku is a Chad as well as, a ladies' man, he would start to make his moves on her. But soon, a man enters the class and introduces himself as Shoto Aizawa, saying that he will be their homeroom teacher. He also tells the students to put on their PE uniforms and to head off to the PE grounds, as they're going to have a Quirk apprehension test. With Aizawa explaining that they'll have a Quirk apprehension test, that they will try out their quirks since they were not able to use their quirks in middle school. After all the students go off to their, changing rooms, Izuku would start to undress, with Kirishima noting that Izuku has a lot of tattoos on his body, and ask if, he got those tattoos, naturally, or is it a part of his quirk. Izuku would go and turn to Kirishima and softly smile, saying that it's part of his quirk, and then he was born with all these tattoos, as well as, his pupils and sclerola on his eyes being kind of like cracked glass or shattered glass, and his eyes being I think it was the yellow shade, a yellow type of golden shade, with the kanji for upper rank 3. With that all going on, he would also comment on Izuku's absolute physique, being a Greek god, and all that shazazz. And Izuku, the Chad he is, would also congratulate Kirishima on his rocking bod, as they have their little banter. But Katsuki in the background would be glaring at Izuku, as Izuku looked to be stronger than he was in middle school, and after the 10 months training that they both had, Izuku seems to have prevailed more than he had and gotten way stronger, as you can just feel the aura, his presence in general being a lot stronger than himself, as well as his Izuku's past self. After Izuku and the entire Class 1A arrive at the grounds where they'll be doing the Quirk test, Aizawa would explain fully what the Quirk apprehension test is, and would call Izuku up to the pitch to do his trial pitch and to use his quirk, with the students, all saying that this is going to be pretty fun. However, Aizawa doesn't seem pleased by the reactions, and then makes a rule that the student who ranks last in the total points will be deemed hopeless and immediately expelled, which shocks 1A, except for Izuku, who understands that the weak shouldn't be trying to protect the weak, and it's the strong that should be protecting the weak. And if they aren't strong enough, that they'll just die, and he doesn't want people to die. with Aizawa then passing a ball to Izuku, telling him to go 100%, as he knows during the entrance exam, after watching all his abilities, that he wasn't going 100% during the entire exam. With Izuku agreeing to Aizawa, saying, if he does go 100%, that everyone might want to hold on to something or to get some cover, as he's definitely going to destroy the surrounding area. With Aizawa, nodding to this, he'll tell the class to back up a wide bit from Izuku, where Izuku was, and to hold on to something, being a pole on the ground or some wacky shit like that. With Izuku gripping the ball, he would summon, his compass needle all around his surrounding area, and the students would pick up on that, seeing the type of snowflake that's around Izuku, and would note on it, with his Katsuki telling the class about Izuku's quirk, and that the light blue snowflake compass needle underneath Izuku, with the numbers ranging from 1 to 12, is a technique that allows Izuku to sense a person's fighting spirit and allows them to detect and track the locations of each opponent, as well as allowing Izuku to use different type of abilities like the air type, disorder, annihilation type, and the 8-layer demon core, and other types like the leg type and all that stuff. You can search up with the techniques that Izuku has that come from compass needle. Pretty sure that's how it works. With Izuku getting ready, he would summon 100% of One for All in his right arm, and would start to lean back and would immediately launch the ball into the atmosphere, making a massive shockwave which would shatter the surrounding glass and would freak out a lot of the other classes that are in the assembly room where they're actually supposed to be, and would start to freak out as they heard a massive bang, a massive sound wave shock that blasted all around the area, and they would look up, seeing that the ball went past the atmosphere and into space, with Aizawa looking at the tablet to see how far it went. The meters would show that there is an error, and that the ball is it's gone, it's infinite. It probably burnt in the atmosphere as it was going so fast. With Aizawa saying that Izuku definitely got first in that, he would tell the rest of the participants to do the same and would get a different ball. With all the other participants doing the exact same and how they would usually get, Izuku would get first place, ranking above Momo, as well as Katsuki and all the other people that in the original, and in last place would be Mineta. And because Aizawa did see some type of hope in Mineta through his quirk and how useful it could be in hero work, like recovery work, he would not expel anybody, as he doesn't seem that there is any need to. So yeah, with all the other students in 1A being accepted into UA fully, and Aizawa seeing that there is hope and type of acceptance in everyone, the class day would pretty much end with not much else happening. There wouldn't be a lot of Katsuki outrage, but internally, Katsuki would be fuming, but he can't, lash out in the situation, as Izuku isn't the type to back down to a fight, as on many situations, Katsuki did try to fight Izuku, but in every time, he lost, as Izuku seems to have this massive regeneration. His strength was absolutely horrifying, with one punch being able to knock out Katsuki in all his middle school fights with Izuku. With Katsuki now seeing that Izuku's quirk or his power had been exponentially boosted, he thinks that there's no hope from him, and we'll start to think of other ways in which he can gain power. If you kind of know where I'm going with this, then you can see what happens in the later seasons. With the day ending and all the other people going back, Class 1A would find that their first day of school had been, it's alright. It'd been, they would have their normal lessons throughout the day, and by the end of the school day, Izuku would become friends with almost everyone in the class, except for, Katsuki, as well as a certain hot and cold boy in the class. With the day ending, Izuku, Ochako, and Tenyo had become, favorites around Izuku, and they would walk home together and would end up going to the train station, and Izuku would wave off both Tenya and Chaco as he's just going to run home, as he's definitely faster than a train, and he can run faster than the eye can perceive him, so there's not much with him getting caught using his quirk at all. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it. I know this episode, I don't even know how long this episode really was, but if you enjoyed that, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe button, as it really does mean a lot to me. And yeah, I'll see you guys later.